problem. Right. So pleasant good morning again. We're just talking about the assignment, right? So I was saying, remember that you'll have to say whether the policy was effectively implemented, and you have to tie it back to the case study, right? So it's not good enough to say the manager or the supervisor came and did the investigation, right? And they just put that's not an answer, right? You have to say how we did it in class, and you have to say that and like in my opinion, I believe that the policy has been effectively implemented with regards to preventing accidents and incidents. And then you said this is seen in the case study where Supervisor S returned to the workflow, cordoned off the area, and did the investigation. And you can quote the direct lines. A lot of you were doing that anyway, right? So remember I was saying that your assignments are scorecarded by neighbors to see if you get them done, but nothing in them is for marks for the final. The final is the final all by itself, right? So please try to get them done, send them in, and we'll have a look at them, right? Other than that, do you have any questions on that assignment? Because there was another one. Remember last week we did about three past papers in class, right? This was another one. Not this one yet, but this was one. This was actually one. You know, um, I don't know if you remember how that came. If not, it meant that you didn't take notes down because I'd spent a great deal of time talking about how the PDCA question came as well as how the ISO question came. But the one I give you for assignment was the one that came on the month of May paper, right? It wasn't from before, but this is also one. The benefits of ISO certification is another one. So that would have brought us to about three past papers. Hopefully, I know you all have your books with you, right? If you don't have them as yet, it means that you are wasting time, right? So, I told you to have a notebook during class. So that would have been a hint to three past papers then, right? Plus you got one to do for the assignment, right? So let me just ask, see if you have any comments, and we're going to continue with today's work. Today's going to finish chapter 2. And what that means next week, Saturday, is chapter 3. What that also means is that, and chapter 3 is easy, right? What that also means is that that's the halfway mark. Remember, it's only 4 chapters. This is a very short course, about 4 months. You all came in April, May. Well, kind of late April, right? Not really the start of April. April, May. So June then will kind of be like your middle point, then July, right? August is your exam. Yeah, that's how short it is, and that's good. Remember you want to get the certificate in your hand. So thank God it's not a degree. It's not that long, right? You can get this cert in your hand in a couple of months anyway, right? So do you have any questions? Assignment wise, anything else that bothers you? Those of us who don't have any questions, you could get your textbook open. And of course, we're on 2.2, right? Last week, if you have the book, 2.1 would have ended with the same slide that I have up here. The benefits of ISO certification, that's the last thing on page 7 of chapter 2. And so today is 2.2. And if you find it and when you find it, also kind of turn it a bit and you realize it's not much pages. It's actually very short. And then when you turn out of that, if you reach to about if you reach to the end of that chapter, you could probably turn the last page of it, right? Page 18, right? 16, 17, 18. To the end of it though, you'd see that is actually the end of that chapter 2. And then the very next thing is chapter 3, right? And chapter 3 is fairly long, but it's not really long. What makes it long is really the project. Your risk assessment project is inside of that chapter. So we kind of pause a bit to do the project out of the theory. So that is what makes it looks a bit longer anyway, right? Any questions, anyone? How was your assignment? How did you find it was? Still kind of waking up for those of us who are here, right? Are you still I guess based on the holidays, right? For those of us who are not in Trinidad, there are two holidays, right? So we had two holidays back to back, right? So are you surviving the holidays, right? And are you back with us anyway? Okay, so nobody have any comment, right? Okay, so let's move on. So the recording is going already. So okay, so I'll start, right? I want to explain us here, seeing that for those of us who know, the explanation normally sums up the whole thing, right? So let me read a bit and you kind of groove back into some mood today. Those of us in Guyana, of course, like I said, it might be normal for you all, but hi, right? So we have had like two holidays here, Tuesday, Friday, right? So the folks in Trinidad may still be in and out of it, right? All right, so this slide, I wouldn't read this one, because that was a slide from the last lesson. I'm admitting somebody, right? Well, two persons in fact. So let's see if they'll come in. Right, I think she's joining in. Okay, I think the person is in, right? All right, yeah. So this is the slide. Remember, we read this before. The purpose of the policy, set the goal, the rule, all of that thing, right? So we could get to the other slide. And we can take it from here, right? All right. So just in the event of you having anything, you could probably just unmute the mic, right? Because I want to start teaching. Right, okay. All right. All right. If there's anything urgent, you could just unmute your mic and you could come in, right? I don't want to pause every time to check comments and whatever have you. So the importance of setting the policy for health and safety. I'll read a bit as I mentioned here. So it's a legal requirement to have a HSE policy. The law in the UK, the Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act 1974, Section 2, Section 2, subsection 3. That used to be a question long time ago. This I asked to remember that, right? But of course, it's an open book exam now. So what it said, Section 2, subsection 3 says that the employer shall prepare a policy. It must be in writing if you have 5 or more employees, and it must be revised as necessary. Some of this we kind of covered that last week too. The only difference there is that we are now seeing the law for it. The law also says that you must state the organization and arrangements of bringing the policy into effect. And you must bring the policy to the attention of your employees, right? So it's not good enough to write it and like put it in a folder then and put it away, right? So if you have a policy, the policy must be communicated to all the employees, which is why last week class we had mentioned you probably will find it on the coverall of the workers. You probably may find it at the back of the reception area, right? That policy that says that safety is everybody's business, or we will do the job safe or not at all, right? That sort of thing. That it's actually one thing to have it, but it's another thing to bring it to the attention of the employees, right? So if you want to turn your page, if you're in chapter 2, 2.2 is actually page 9. And say if you want to turn the page to page 10, you'll see the same thing up there. You'll see legal duties there. Of course, the same thing in the book is the same thing on the slide. Anybody that for some reason don't have your book or you don't have your slide, it's the same thing, right? Seeing the same thing two places doesn't make it more important if you don't learn it then, if you don't memorize it, or in this case, be familiar with it because you don't really have to memorize, but seeing it in the book and then ignoring it and seeing it on the slide and then ignoring it, that doesn't make any sense, right? So wherever you see it, if you're looking at the slide, you're looking at the book, you see it's the very same thing. Just be familiar with it, right? That having a policy is a legal requirement, right? They have the same thing in the textbook. Those of us in the book, same thing, section 2, subsection 3. nothing more. Sometimes less. The book sometimes have less than the slides, but nothing more, right? There's another law as well. If you have the book, you see this one too. Another legal requirement. The acronym is on the slide. The acronym is in the book too, but the name of this law, not that it is important, then the name is not really important. It's not important because it does not come for your exam, right? But if you want, you could write down the name of this law. I'll call it out a couple of times. But this is in no way an exam question then, right? It's not an exam question. What was is what we did, and what we did would have been things like this, right? So the name of this law is the management, for those of us who write in, of health and safety at work regulations. So the health and safety was easy, right? The management of health and safety at work regulations 1999. And regulations 5 say the same thing as what the law before had said, right? So it basically say you must have a policy and you must bring it to the attention of your employees once you have more than 5 employees then, right? So it say arrangements must be in place for effective planning. So they kind of interpret that to be a must have a policy, organization, control, monitoring, and review of preventative and protective measures. And the arrangements must be in writing if you have more than 5 employees, right? Again, that used to be a question before the pandemic when they would say, what is the law for having a policy? But those sort of questions don't come anymore. So let's move on. Keep looking at your books. I bet what you'll see is that the policy document has 3 parts of it, or should we say 3 subsections? I think that's a better thing to say, right? The policy, if you look at the picture here, is actually one folder, right? Or the policy document or the policy book or handbook of the company would normally be in the form of a folder or probably a handbook, speaking of handbook, right? But what makes a policy is that when you open that book, there are 3 subsections of the book, right? And that is what NIBOSH wants you to know. So if you look at your textbook, if you look at the slide, well, I have them one by one, but you see, and they did them one by one in the book too. So you have your 3 sections of the policy. The first one is called the statement of intent, right? And you could write it down. You don't have to really wait to see it, right? So the statement of intent. The other one, so I'm just going to fast forward here and show you them, right? The other one is called the organization. Yes, that's a heading of the policy. The organization is a heading in the policy folder, right? And then the last heading or subheading in the policy document or folder is called arrangements, right? Arrangements. And if you have your book, those of us at the books, if you could turn the pages, you'd have seen the same sort of idea that I did with this slide. So like the first thing you'll see after we say the policy have 3 pieces, you'll see like what the textbook did. It did what I did. It did the statement of intent. Right? And when you turn out of that, those of us in the book, right? Just shout for me, like, what are you seeing on pages? What are you seeing on page 12? If you turn to page 12 of the book. The same thing is on the slide. I just want to show you how the approach is the same now. What are you seeing on page 12 as a heading? And you can unmute the mic and you can let the class know. And then those of us who
The
finish
three
with that
parts,
one. Yeah, go ahead.
the 3 parts of health and safety policy.
On your page 12,
There's legal duties.
oh, we may have a little bit of a different book. I'm using actually one of the recent books from the office here, which would have been May shipment, June shipment, right? But could you, okay, so if you have legal duties, could you turn on, so are you saying they have the three parts of the policy? So that's actually page 10 for
That is
me.
just under legal duties, sir.
Right, okay, good. So turn that one page. Well, on that same page, you're supposed to see the same heading here, the statement of intent. By the way, this exercise is not to find it in the book. I'll show you what this exercise is for. If you wonder why I are doing this, I'll show you just now. Like you may think it's to find it in the book, it's actually not.
Yeah, it's right
Right?
under the three parts,
Right,
general
okay. So
statement of intent.
turn that page and tell me what you say when you turn the page. See if you see the next part of the policy, which is supposed to be called what?
Organizational roles and
Very good.
responsibilities.
Right. And what, yeah, very good. Organization rules and responsibilities. What page you all have that on?
214.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, my book is a bit different than that. That's why I have it on 212. All right. It doesn't matter the page number, the information is the same, right? All right. So when you finish with organization, turn again and tell me what you're seeing. You'll see, you see how this slide have more information in the textbook, right? But when you let's turn again, turn until you see the next heading. It should probably be for you 15 then, if you say 214. But see where you're seeing this heading, which is arrangements.
Yes, so that's 250.
Oh, 215. Okay, good, right. When you find it, turn the page one more time. And probably turn the page one more time and tell me what's happened to the chapter in the book. So that was the purpose in this exercise, to see what's happened to the chapter. So after arrangements, the next thing you're supposed to see is reviewing the policy. You see the same heading here. What you had in here, you will see
Yeah,
the same heading here.
it have topic focus, and then reviewing of the policy, and then
Right. Okay. And then that means
topic
if you see
focus
topic focus, if it have topic focus, then what does that mean? The chapter is what?
and completed.
Right. The chapter is completed. So this was the exercise. The exercise wasn't where it is really, but the exercise is to tell you that the next part of this chapter, what they did, they only looked at the next part of the course, then they only looked at the three parts of the policy. You understand? They only looked at the three parts of the policy, the statement of intent, the organization, and the arrangements. And once you finish with that, the chapter finish. And that's how simple it is. And as I tell you, if I explain it, we'll finish just now. But I want to explain it, right? But I'll kind of slow it down a bit. So I don't, because the explanation for those three things is very simple. Remember, it's an open book test. So it's not as if you have to write on, like a passage on the statement of intent or a passage on the, no. It's not as if you have to draw an org chart. You do not have to draw this. You do not have to, right? So once you get the explanation, it's finished. That's how short chapter 2 is. Last week, I told her that I could have finished the whole of chapter 2 in one sitting, but we took our time and we made mention of three past papers then, right? And I just thinking about today's one. Like when I say today's one with a past paper, they haven't really tested much of this with the past paper. You could see that because remember, I give you a past paper, I give you May 2024 paper. And what came was a statement of intents, but it do really have anything much more than that then, like organization, part of it. But we're gonna explain it still today. But it's not as if it's heavy on the past papers, then it's not. I think the part that was heavy on the past papers, we did that already, right? Like the benefits of ISO to see if the policy was effectively implemented. We kind of did that already. So you see how simple NIBOSH is. NIBOSH is not really hard, right? It is not hard. The exam is quite easy, but it's all about good planning and good techniques, right? To get through with the exam anyway, right? So what I want to do, I want to try to construct a bit of a flow diagram. And what I'll do with the flow diagram, you could draw it as well, right? Yours may look better than mine because the zoom markers are not the best, right? But what I'll do as we do every piece of it, because remember it's three pieces of the policy, we'll pause a bit and look at the book and come back to it. Remember, it's an open book test. You could always look back at the textbook, right? if you have any pens, paper, well, pen, not really pens, but maybe pen, pencil, paper, you could construct this small diagram. It may take about a half a page, but if you're doing it and you have like file pages or even, I guess, printer pages, you know, the legal or the letter size, you could probably turn the paper um, horizontal, right? Because the diagram has three pieces then, so it's going to be kind of broad as we go, right? And so keep your books in your hand. I'll show you what we're going to do now, right? So, and this is just to show you a bit more explanation other than what the book have, because if I explain it, we'll be finished, right? So I'm doing something like this, and of course it'll be a straight line. Let me start over. Let me start that over. I'll try to do it better than that, right? So just like a simple diagram like that, right? The top of it here will be the HSE policy. And what we want to do, we want to put the three pieces of the policy here, right? And that's supposed to be a straight line. And as every time I pause, right? To be a straight line for you, if you have a ruler, and we're going to put the three pieces of the policy here. These three lines signify the three parts of the policy, right? So up here will be the HSE policy. This is the policy document. And what they said, the policy have three parts. So what we're going to do is just fill out the three parts underneath. Maybe you could write it better than me because of the marker here. This first piece is called the statement of intent. I'll just put S. Can I just put S? Statement of intent. And the other piece is called organization. Remember, we call them sections, right? Or subsections. Like when you open that document, when you open the policy folder, there's three headings inside of it, and each one have its own page then, right? So the statement of intent, the organization, and the arrangement, right? Again, it's an open book test, and you could, like, whatever notes you make in class, you can feel free to refer to it, right? So let's see what the statement of intent have in it. I'll talk about that first. We're gonna pause and look at the book, but I may need the space here. So like, whatever I talk about here, I may have to erase it then, right? If you fill it out under S, when we are finished with the last one, you'll have a full diagram, right? So I could have written it here, but it have the slides here then, right? So I would just try to fill it out here, right? So the statement of intent, so that's a bullet point, right? So what is statement of intent have in it? We did this last week. This is the piece we did last week. It have the goals of the company. Remember this one from last week? It have the goals of the company. It have the aims. It have the objectives. If you want, you can write all of that down. Goals. S, right? Put an S in it. The S kind of hard to make with this mark, right? Goals, aims, and objectives. The statement of intent consists of the goals, the aims, put an S with it, and the objectives are health and safety. Some people say the statement of intent is whatever you want to achieve, right? So whatever you want to do with your company, I just put the word want here, that is that desire then to have zero accidents. If you remember the passive question that you did, the first thing they had was zero accidents, incidents, right? So whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do, and you put that in a document or the company document, that is what is called a statement of intent. We covered it last week because remember we said if you had gone to a company, a service provider, Flow, Digicel, Guyana Power and Light, and you see on the wall, you see that statement and it said, we are committed to your safety. We want a zero tolerance, well, zero accident tolerance, culture. So that's what they want. Whatever they want becomes your statement of intent. Hence it's called statement of intent, right? So could I give you, I want to try to give you just two, and maybe you can give me two. And that's it for the statement of intent. Like I said, the explanations are not really long. I kind of making it long by doing this chart, but hopefully you're kind of understanding as well that the policy is one thing, and as you open it, there are three parts of it. The first piece you come across is called the statement of intent. It basically have your goals, aim, objectives of the company, whatever the company wants, go into that page. And let me just give you an example of maybe two, and then maybe you could give me two. It's not that I have to write your two, but okay, remember you're not really getting this to do like that, right? If you look at the participant Nibosh give you the assignment question, they actually give you the statement of intent. So let's go to the easiest one. The easiest one, what does the company want to achieve? They want to achieve how many accidents? Anybody want to finish this one for me? How many accidents you want to achieve? Nobody
Zero.
mark.
Zero.
Right, zero, right? You can write this out better for me. Accident. And I'll have it like a zero policy tolerance with accidents, right? So zero accidents. I'll give you another one, and then you'll give me one, right? I'll give you a simple one. Let's say they just want to do whatever you want becomes so this will never be wrong, right? And that's why Nibo's not really asking you. If you look at the assignment, I said they give you 10 statements, right? So maybe what a company wants to do is probably to do 2 drills for the year, right? So maybe 2 drills is whatever they want. There is no wrong answer to this because whatever is the want of the company, that becomes your statement of intent, right? Can anybody just shout too? Like I said, I don't think this piece is an exam. This is just about the explanation that the policy have 3 parts, and the first part is whatever you want. Anybody could shout 2 things you think that a company would want to achieve?
Emergency evacuation drills, fire drills.
Okay, good. But that's about the same thing as number 2. So anybody else, like what do you think a company would want to achieve? It is whatever you want though, so there's really no wrong answer to that. But what y'all think?
About effective communication. Yeah.
Okay,
Health and safety of the environment.
okay. Anybody else? So those answers are kind of okay, but you had to be specific. You see how they say 0 accidents, 2 drills, right? So if you say communication, you may want to rephrase that. Like to be a goal, then you had to be specific, right? A goal is like it's like okay, like we could use NEBOSH, right? So you say, okay, you want to do a safety course, but which one? Which one you want to do? So if you're saying communication, you have to kind of quantify that more for it to be a goal, because like a goal then is something that you can measure back against. Like when the year is finished, you can say, well, yes, I did do NEBOSH, right? Or a goal, right? I'm just making this up, a goal um to purchase a new vehicle. But which one? What kind of vehicle do you like? Right? So would it just be any vehicle you want by the end of the year? Or is there some vehicle that you're looking at, right? Local use or foreign use or new. But what are you looking at then? Like what do you have in your mind then, right? So of course those of us who know this strictly, mind is very powerful. Once you put something in your mind, it will happen, but you have to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, it wouldn't happen, right? If you want a new phone, but you don't know what you want, well, start finding out what you want, right? Start trying to figure out what you want, right? So for the companies, then they cannot just say communication, because when the year is finished, how would you know if you had good communication? So you had to rephrase it. You have to say like maybe they needed to have um more safety meetings, right? So like 4 safety meetings for the month. So like when the month is finished, you could pull the records, you could pull the attendance records. So that's communication, right? Because remember, you're not in a safety meeting, you're not talking to the wall, you're talking to the workers. So you want to have 4 safety briefings for the month. When the month is finished, you can pull the attendance record and see the 4 safety meeting, right? Folks, you understand what I tell you there? You cannot have a goal. It's like, okay, you say you're going to the beach, but you know which beach you're going. So you just drive in. Of course, some Trinidadians do that, right? But, I mean, if the person you're carrying or you yourself, you had in your mind, it was a South Beach and North Beach, right? But you must know where you're going, right? So the more specific you can be with a goal, the better, right? So somebody else give me another one. If you want to get that one for number three could have been 4 safety meetings for the month. So you had to be specific with it. You had to be real with it, right? Otherwise it wouldn't get done. Think
So
about
if you
yourself. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
to report all near misses.
Very good. Excellent. To report all near misses. And companies have creative ways of doing that. They could have a near miss form. They could have the stop card for those of us who know that anyway. Anybody else have one more? 4 is enough. Remember, they're not really asking you this. Just please remember the assignments I give you. NIBOSH gave you all the statement of intent. So they're not really asking it, but I want you to understand because well, you all know that I mean, other than the exam, right? Other than that, you all know that, but we know that you all see the vacancies asking for the NIBOSH, but what that means then is that if you get into the job, so you pass the exam, you get into a job, you may be asked, right? Seeing that you have NIBOSH, you may be asked to review the company policy statement, right? And then when you look at it, don't just say yes, you agree with it. See if you could change something. See if you could make up one of your own goals. You may look at it and you may see they said they wanted to have 1 drill for the year, fire drill. And as Daryl said, maybe you can say, well, maybe we should do another type of drill. So you can say, well, let's change the goal. So NIBOSH is a mark of competence, right? Yes, there's an exam, but remember, competence means that when you get out there, that you should be able to make these things up as well, right? And you will be able to, and you will be asked to, because if you are the safety from 2024 to 2025, when they review this, you will have to make up some new goals, right? 0 accidents is always good. 2 drills is always good, right? But you know, in your career, then if this is why you're doing this, remember from here, the next thing is a job, right? So you will be asked to do some of these things. It's not just about the exam. So yes, it's fair to say that NIBOSH not really asking you these goals, but the real world will. You would be asked to do it and to review the company policy, from year to year anyway, right? Anybody thought of another one? If you're sticking, I'll give you another one, and then we'll get one more. We'll finish off the statement of intent, right? I see some stuff in the chat. Let me just give you another one, like a really nice one that every company have is what everybody like, welfare. You go anywhere, you go to Flow, you go any company, you see the company, you say, like they will say something like, we would provide a safe place of work for you. We'll provide welfare facilities for you. The list goes on in a safe access, egress, right? PPE, right? But you know now, right? Let me see what you all have in the chat. Anybody want to end off this one on statement of intent? Do you have a good statement of intent? Anybody thought of one? Make it a real one, make it something specific, twist it, turn it into something real. Okay, Kavita, monthly safety checks, but you'll have to say how much, right? Folks, you have to say how much. You have to say 30 monthly inspections. That's what you want to do, right? Don't just leave it as monthly safety checks, right? If you're writing that one down, you want to get 30 inspections done. Well, probably not so much, but if you take all the weekends, but about 28, but most companies do 30, right? Risk assessments to be done, Masha, yes. Again, you could probably quantify how much risk assessments you want done, maybe 4 done for the month or whatever have you, right? Anybody want to end it off? If you have been hearing these answers now, then you should be able to think of one for yourself. Could anybody end
So
it off with a specific one?
like a daily job site checklist that you done every day for the weekend day.
Right, very good, right? So you can say, yeah, you want to get your JSAs done on a daily basis, right? Job safety instructions, JSA, that's a form filled out prior to the job on a daily basis, right? So I'll put here JSA daily, right? So yes, the daily part of it would have been specific. So look how much we did, and we didn't even open the book. The book don't have so much, I'm telling you. You see, and it's not as if you have to know that too. You don't have to know this because remember they're not asking you really this. I just doing this so that you understand the statement of intent is the goal, the aim of the company. And what is the goal? You could just make it up. It's whatever you want. 0 accidents, 2 drills, JSAs, 30 inspections done for the month. Nobody holding anything against you. Whatever you want, that becomes a statement of intent, right? Let's take a look at the book, right? And I want to just, for those of us with it, well, we wrote it here. So you don't have to do this because, like I said, seeing the same thing 2 places, 3 places, and if you're not listening to it, then it don't make sense. 1 place is enough for me. If somebody tells me this is important, I don't need to see 3 places. I don't need to see it on the slide, on a drawing, and in the textbook to make me think it's important. Once is enough. But as you have the book, I'm going to point it out in the book for you so that you know that it is important, right? So if you want, take a look at the book. We're going to look at the statement of intent. Well, the page is different, and my page is different to you. But wherever you could find just this thing here, the 3 parts of the policy, right? Statement of intent was right there. General statement of intent. And we're just going to pull out those same words that is already written on the slide, right? So reading from the book, it says, this, which is the statement of intent, same heading, spells out the organizational approach, overall approach to health and safety management. And those of us in the book, help me read a bit. And it's what? What's the next 2 word? It's what? It's
aims.
And?
It's aims and objectives.
Okay, that's already on the slide, as I'm trying to tell you, right? But the book is yours, you could underline it, but it doesn't make a difference if you underline it, if you don't remember it. So if you have it written down on the line, that's not important. What's important is that you remember wherever you see the statement of intent is the aim and objective. So reading again. This is where those at the top of the organization set out their what? Set out there. We came across this word last week.
The organization.
Sets out their vision. Remember we said that last week, the vision, right? So folks, you're seeing the same thing over and over again. And if you want, cast your eyes on the next page, which is topic focus. I said our pages may be a bit different. This one, topic focus. What you see they did here, they give you some. But you don't need to memorize anything. It's an open book exam. Plus, they're not really asking it this. Remember, they're not really asking it that. You saw it in the past, but NIBOSH actually gave you it and then asked you to compare it to the case study to see if the company was actually satisfying it then. So the book of meeting legal obligation, provision of safe workplace, safe equipment, safe systems of work, right? So NIBOSH, the exam question is giving you these statements and asking you, compare it with the case study and see if they're actually doing it. So if they said safe workplace, read the case study and see did they really provide a safe workplace, and then you say yes or no. That's what that's what these questions come in, right? If you go down in the book a bit, you'll see some of these same things we have on this slide is there. If you look under objectives and targets, you're gonna see accident rate. They have to achieve a reduction in the accident or ill health rate, right? So just check to the bottom of your page. You'll see what I was telling you. Whenever you make up these statements, they have to be specific. You see that? You have to be real and they have to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. That's not a past paper. I'm just telling you, when you make up the statement, you have to make it real. And so if you're saying 2 drills, you have to say, well, a fire drill and an emergency, well, like medical drill. You have to be real, right? Daily JSA forms must be filled out. So every day you're doing it, you have to be real. And what type of forms? JSA, right? 30 inspections for the month. You cannot leave it not specific. Again, not specific is like you At the start of the year, you say, I want to do a safety course. Right? That doesn't say much. Because in Guyana and in Trinidad more, you have plenty safety courses in Trinidad, a lot, right? But which is the best? Which is the one that will open the doors for you? But those of us in Trinidad, do you have to go Cipriani and then come back and do Nibosh? No, you don't have to, right? Do you have to go to the new Guyana school in Guyana and then come back and do Nibosh? No, you don't have to, right? Check and see what your vacancy is asking for. Right? And don't just leave it as I want to do a safety course or I want to buy a car, right? The minute you don't give it substance, it doesn't happen, right? You want to open a business, but you know what business you want to open. So you don't have an idea what you want to open, right? If you don't have an idea, if you have an idea that you want to open a business, but you have no idea, well, nothing would happen. But if you start thinking, the wheels start thinking, the business is, X, Y, and Z, servicing, maybe computers or even maybe safety. Yeah, a lot of my students have opened safety businesses, right? You want to sell some safety supplies, right? The more real you can be with it, check the book, the more specific you can be with it, it happens. The less specific you can be with it, it doesn't happen. Talking from experience here. Anyway, folks, that one is finished. When I say talking from experience, I could tell you some stories wholly, but I'll just tell you one. Like a class, putting a class together. I know me have a figure in my mind, even before the coordinators, I know the figures I want in the class, right? So I don't just say I want to put a class together. I know the figure I have in my mind, right? I know the type of students that I want come to the school, which is why we have 5 CXC as so it's specific, right? I have 5 CXC as the minimum entry requirement. We could cut a slack if somebody have 4 or 3 subjects because sometimes people have work experience, right? But that's what I want, right? So fast forward now, June month, we have the class. You all are the class, right? 25 students in class. So I know what I want. And I know I wanted to pass too, right? So the more specific, think about yourself, the more specific you could get with the things that you want. Same thing with the company, 0 accidents, 2 drills. At the end of the year, they can say we actually did it. Same thing for you. You want a car, you want to open a business, but at the end of the year, it's June today, the 1st of June, right? So the more specific you can get with it, by the end of the year, you'll actually have it, right? Anyway, that's a story for another day. I should probably leave that. I'll leave it, right? I'll leave it. Okay, so folks, I want to take this one off. If you look at your book, this is done. And I mean, if you look at the book, the next thing you'll see then is organization. As I wrote under the letter Odo, because I tell you I didn't want to write there, I have to take this off. And then I'll write in for you now what is the organization part of it, right? So I've taken this off. Anybody still writing anything down? Down? Sorry. Anybody still writing anything down? I guess I could start at the top. You can let me know. You could say no. Yes, you're not sure. Remember, the recording will be posted tonight, so you have a chance again. But hopefully you all look at them. The other thing I realized since the pandemic kind of eased up, when the pandemic was the height of 2020, people used to run down these videos. By the way, we never started, we never uploaded videos on a Saturday. We'd upload during the course of the week, but students were so, they ran down the videos. We started to upload them Saturday night. Of course, Saturday night is Saturday night, so nobody should be working. But that kind of happened in the pandemic where students started to ask, put the videos up Saturday night. Now the videos are going up, but nobody looking at it. Based on the comments here, and I did see some of the comments. I asked you to look at the video. I did see some, right? But not all, right? So whenever you do, please look at it. Please put a comment. It's not for comment's sake, and it's really for your sake, right? But it's a me to tell me how much people are looking at these things as well. The April class, the last video, 44 views, 1 comment. So who was that person? I think that was Christina. So what the rest of you all was doing? Chapter 3. So it's not important. It's not important to you all. 44 views, but 1 comment, right? And this 44 views though had to be from Trinidad and Tobago. When something is on YouTube, it's there. It's there for the world to look at, right? So eventually what I'll do, I'll start charging you all for these videos on them, right? So like the live is enough, but when you say you want to look back, you kind of have like a PayPal system and you look at the videos, right? Because like Trinidadians, like that's the only time they put value to something. When you see it's like money is attached to it, right? So you have a PayPal system. I think it's what's the name of it? Patreon, right? And you put it on Patreon. So if you want to see the videos and then you pay to see them because it's free and nobody watching them, right? All right, organization. So you all look at the videos, please. Don't let next week come and then come back with the same thing, huh? All right, organization, and it's a your benefit, right? And I've chosen the most friendliest way because we used to put it on Google Classroom. So my suspicions was right. I know nobody watching it on Google Classroom. It's on WhatsApp now, nobody looking at it now, right? All right, well, it's your learning, you all pay the money. You all pay your money. And you're there, but it's free, KFC free. If KFC was free, nobody I wanted. All right. So the next thing we have here is the organization, right? So the organization, let's try to do it. I'll try to line it up here first, right? So the organization, I'll read first. So the organization section deals with the roles and responsibilities of those persons who would assist the employer to plan, organize, control, monitor, and review the organization's preventative and protective measures. The organization section defines key personnel at all levels and their duties, responsibilities for health and safety and welfare. It includes the arrangements for reporting to the top management. It includes the provision for external support for health and safety when needed. The organization roles and responsibilities, they could check the one in the book too. They kind of have the same kind of idea. They give you like a org chart then, and then very briefly, like I said, the slides have more very briefly. They tell you what these persons are to do. That's it right there. That's the end of it right there, right? So I have the same thing. So the directors and senior managers, what are they responsible for setting policy objectives and targets? HSE advisors responsible for giving advice during risk assessments and accident investigation. Health and safety representative responsible for representing employees with safety matters with the employer. The role of line managers, top managers set objectives, scan the environment, plan and make decisions. Middle managers allocate resources, oversee first line managers, report to top management, develop and implement activities. First line managers coordinate activities, supervise employees, report to middle management, participate in day-to-day operations, right? This piece is much more than the book. The role of line managers, they report to managing director. They're responsible and accountable for the health and safety performance of their department. May recommend a specific goal, objective, or target for HSE based on the SMART objectives. They may develop, for example, training plans that aid in fulfilling the HSE goals. The role of line managers, they personally investigate all lost workdays cases and report findings to the managing director, thereby assisting with monitoring the policy and its effectiveness. Coordinate and facilitate HSE objectives, such as carrying out a specific number of inspections, sampling, or noise testing. The organization roles and responsibilities, the individual workers or employees are responsible for taking reasonable care of the health and safety of themselves and others who may be affected by the acts or omissions. That is Section 7 of the HSW Act 1974 and Regulations 14 of the Management of Health and Safety Regulation 1999. Fire marshals responsible for fire evacuation of the staff in an emergency or a drill. The role of the role of folks in the organization section again, right? First aiders, responsible for administering first aid to the injured persons. Supervisors responsible for checking day-to-day compliance with the policy. And that's it. So what was the moral of this story? I had to read it because you see how short it was and the explanation is very simple. So the moral of the this part of it, let's get back to the little diagram I have here. Right? Remember we said the policy is one folder. As you open it, you're going to see the statement of intent. So what would you see in the organizational section? From what I read, what you'll pick up is that what you'll see like who have the responsibility then, right? And the responsibilities, if you follow the notes that I read, kind of go from the top way down to the average employee. So they have who have the responsibilities for health and safety, right? And that is normally represented in an org chart. So what you may find in that section of the policy, you may find an org chart saying who has the responsibilities for health and safety, right? And it's on the slide. So the CEO, if you want to just put back to here, so the CEO may be responsible for allocating monies for the HSE plan. Just put a $sign here, right? The health and safety person will be responsible for carrying out risk assessments, right? Remember we spoke about the drills? Well, who's going to take charge of that drill? It's probably going to be the same HSE person. So I'll put drills there, right? In short, what this section have, I'll say it again, it actually have like the role of the person. And to be very specific, I mean, I would want to say it have like their name as well, their role and responsibility. So if the HSE person is Shadrach, they will say, how we had, remember the statement of intent had, you wanted to do 2 drills? Well, it would have the role, the person with that responsibility is Shadrach to perform 2 drills. Who is the CEO, Frank? What we said had money in it. What we had here again, we had drills, we had, somebody said inspections. Somebody had said what again? You remember what was written down here? Well, you all had to write it down. Like, what again did we have here? Anybody remember one of the things we had here? Just show them for me, because remember I had to take them off.
So objectives.
Yeah, but what would have been one of them?
Like job site checklist, GSAs, safety meetings, attendance
Right, okay.
registers.
Right. So if anything needed money, it was the CEO had to do that now. Like well, I mean, nothing we said they required a big amount of money, but if it was something big, if we had said drug testing, yeah, drug testing, or you're purchasing a new piece of equipment as a statement of intent. Let's say it's your company or well, a big company, and their aim was to purchase 2 or 4 or 6 vehicles. Well, who was to do that? Who had to sign the check? It would have been the CEO. Think you understand it a bit? Performing the fire drill, would have been the health and safety. The fire warden would have been that. Do you understand what is happening here, folks? I wonder if you're catching that. So this is why I drew it on a flow diagram. Right? The reason I drew it on a flow diagram was that there is a connectivity between each of them. If you have filled out yours, you'll see the connectivity. I had to erase the first one that I did, right? But the connectivity is basically this. And if you could tell me, so what is the connectivity between the statement of intent and the organization? If you wrote it down, you probably would see it. If you're listening, you probably would have gotten it. What's the connectivity between the statement of intent and the organization? After you say your goal, what does the organization section have in it? It have what?
It tells you who is responsible for implementing which goal or
Very
policy.
good. Very good. It have the person, it have the human being there. You see, going back to real life, right? It's like if you make a goal, right? If you make a goal, right? You make a goal, you want to purchase a new car. right? But you never go and check any dealer. You never go down by whoever is your dealers, right? You never go down to, there's a bus in Trinidad, right? You never go down to the, to Ruru or whatever have you. You never really check it out. You never check out. So you just have a goal in your head, but you never do anything. So after you make a goal in life, the onus is always on somebody. So that's the organization section. After you say you want to do a safety course, right? Or the day you say you want to do a safety course, right? Well, that's just the goal day. But the other days then that follow, have you checked out anywhere? Did you go Costard? Did you check out their program? Did you go Cipriani? Did you go call up some schools offered? Well, it's only this course is only offered here, right? Remember the other versions of NEBOSH is not the full version, right? But did you check out Shadrach? Did you call? Did you get a quote? Because you kind of go into a real person then, you understand this? So everything in life is like that. If you don't put a human being in it, it doesn't happen. You're feeling to eat like a roti, but you just stay home. You're feeling to eat pizza, right? So you wouldn't call Pizza Hut or call Pizza Boys. Which one you feeling for? Domino's, which one you feeling for, right? So the human element is what makes it real. And you think you understand that? So like, I know Masha had so you answer this question for me. When I say you, I mean not Masha, but I said that Masha answer was to do inspections, and I said to do 30 inspections. So out of the people in the org chart, if you want, you could watch a book because he answered on the slide too. Out of the people on the chart here, can I have them here? Who is the one that is going to do the 30 inspection? Who is doing that? The CEO or the HSE?
HSE.
Right, the HSE. So then that's written into the policy. It's written in, you see, like when you turn, I don't know if I have a policy book in it, but it's very big. Yes, it's supposed to be in the next season. These are about the size of my policy book, right? Hi. Yeah. Oh, sorry, here. Yeah. No. Yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you, right, is that your goal would only stay a goal then, right? But the policy part of the document, if you open it, you would see then it have the CEO, Frank Henry, responsible for signing off on all of the payments that is needed, right? You would see the health and safety person, right? You will see the fire warden name, right? If we say Miss Jane is the fire warden who is going to assist in the event of a fire. So that's how real it is then. And one of the reasons for that, that's why they draw this for you, right? I tell you, they didn't draw this to tell you how to draw it enough. They draw it to kind of give you the idea that it have real people involved in it. Where's that part of it, right? Have real people, directors, managers, right? And a lot of companies, the companies put the person name in the org chart, or they put the person name here, right? You see, the reason for that is that if they said they wanted to do what you all said it, Marsha said it, right? They wanted to get 30 inspections done for the month, right? Well, if it wasn't being done, right? If you had the person name here, if you had it as health and safety Shadrach, you could have said, well, it's been 3 months now, right? The CEO of the company could have said it's been 3 months now. I remember we said we wanted to do 30 inspections for the month, and we have not gotten any done. So the purpose in the name here is actually to hold that person accountable. You understand that, folks? You understand the purpose of the name? The purpose in the name is that you can say, well, who had to get the 30 inspections done? And in other words, what I'm trying to tell you, if you don't put the person, everybody will just say, well, it wasn't me, right? I remember us saying we will get 30 inspections done, but I thought that was the CEO. And the CEO said, well, I thought that was you, the safety. And they said, no, I thought that was the consultant. And the consultant said, no, I thought that was the fire marshal. But if it's written down here, no, look, Shadrach, you were the one to get the 30 inspections done. And if it's something to pass money for, and the CEO said, yes, he would allocate resources, well, they say, well, Frank, You said you would allocate money for the training. You said you would allocate money for this new piece of equipment. So sign the check, sign off on the thing because we need to get it. That's the purpose of the organization. Coming back to you now, right? Like, are we talking safety? But if you said, you wanted to go and get a car, you go and you get 3 coats. Those of us in South are not quite sure where, but you go by Masca, by Daryl, right? Anybody else know anybody else? And then you come back with your quote, and then, you could go to the bank and you say, look, this is the quote I got from Masca. This is the price, that they offer in the vehicle for. And if they offer you a discount, you can say, where's the next place again in San Fernando? I saw, but see, when you're teaching, you don't think at the same time because you're talking, but I forget it, and I bought a vehicle from there because crazy that is. Anyway, yeah. Cheapers, yeah. And right down the road from me, yeah. Yeah, so so if they offer you a discount, you could say, well, look, I spoke to the sales representative and they said, look, I getting a 10% discount. But the thing is, it is specific, you see. The more you know the person name, the more you know Shadrach or Frank, and he said, this is what you all said. You could hold them accountable, right? So the policy document, sorry, again, I do have a folder to show you. I have a big one there. But as you open it, the first thing you would see is what you want to do. 30 inspections for the month, 2 drills for the year. The next thing you see is who have to do it. When you turn the page, you have a part called the organization. And that part have who will get it done, right? Let's go to the textbook. We have what we have already. By the way, remember, for the third time today, a disclaimer, these kind of questions don't come. We're just trying to understand it because in reality, you may have to do this for your real life anyway. But I told you before, I think the question on this, we did it already. That was the assignment question. It doesn't have these kind of questions then to say, I guess it could, they could ask you, what's the role of management? Right? Yeah, James. He's in a previous class. He doesn't write it and I'll take it. I think he's in February, if you could find out, Peter. It's on the flash drive. Yeah. Yeah, so so let's have a read of the book, right? So those of us for the book, I'm just reading this one line here for you, or this one passage here for you, under organization, rules and responsibilities. We almost finished. We have here this section of the health and safety policy deals with what? This is what you have the book. It's on this thing already. This section of the health and safety policy deals with people. Because without people, it wouldn't get done, right? And the operational duties in relation to health and safety. It outlines the chain of command for health and safety management and identifies the roles and responsibilities of staff. So that's what I was trying to do here. And that's what the book trying to do too. The book have less than this slide. That's what I was trying to do here. Tell you the role and responsibility of the director. Tell you the role and responsibility of the HSE advisor. It's not as if they're asking you that anyway. Tell you the role of the line manager. Tell you again the role of the line manager. We're just trying to give it like a real person, employees, fire marshals, first aiders, supervisors. But it's not as if they're coming to ask you this, right? It's just that you have to understand that that section have the people who doing what you said you wanted to do. So there's a connectivity. After you say what you want to do, a person have to get it done. Otherwise, it wouldn't get done. That's actually true for life too. You could stay home whole day, say if you want a car, and you could dream from now till you're 70-something years old. But if you don't get up and start to get a quote for a car, you wouldn't get that car. Right? Whatever you want. The same is true. Okay, the last piece, those of us in the book, just under the chart. Well, I don't know if your book is like that, but for me, arrangement is under the chart. Right? So that's why I say under the chart, have the last piece of the policy, right? Which is the A. Remember, it's SOA. Again, I'll have to take off here because this is about the space I have to write it in, right? Let me find that eraser. Tell me if you have any questions. I don't really have any question to point to, like in a past paper now. Because all this is just understanding as to what the policy have. But I don't really have, there's no past paper that looks like this then. There's none. You know, I mean, there used to be before the pandemic, right? Students, this asked them what are the 3 pieces of the policy, and you had to write a passage on each one. But remember, it's an open book test now, so they wouldn't make it that easy. Just give me 1 minute, huh? All right, so the last piece of it is the arrangement. So again, what I could do, I could tell you what it is, and then we could try to see what's the connectivity then. Because remember, these things are not 3 separate things, but they are 3 parts of the policy, right? Let's try to get that piece going. So the arrangement, let me read it first, and then we'll pinpoint it, and then I'll explain, right? So the arrangement, this section deals with the company's preventative and protective measures, usually in the form of procedures for achieving the stated aims in the statement of intent by the person with the responsibility in the organization. But this is the answer here. Well, so what is the arrangement? This is the answer here is for it, right? But I'll explain it because when you read, sometimes you really don't pick up all. But let me read all this slide first, and I'll come back to this one point here. So I'll read it one more time. Usually in the form of procedures for achieving the stated aims in the statement of intent by the person with the responsibility in the organization. The arrangement, the purpose of this section of the policy is to set the organization arrangements of planning and organizing the procedures by which the intentions will get done. It sets out the procedures for controlling hazards, consultation, communication, and monitoring compliance for HSE. You don't have to learn 8 anymore. This was before the pandemic, but this is what is the arrangement section may have in it. The arrangements for a written safe system of work, the provision of written instructions for fire safety, prevention, including evacuation procedures, escape routes, and assembly points, procedures for consultation with the workforce on health and safety matters, including involvement of safety committees and safety representatives, provision of written instructions for control of contractors and supervision of visitors, including the use of the permit to work system. The arrangements should include instructions for instructions concerning the handling of hazardous substance, procedures for dealing with accidents, prevention, investigation, reporting, and collating of statistics, procedures for material handling, procedures involving in the use of display screen equipment, flowchart showing the company line of communication. Employers must plan, organize, control, monitor, and review preventative and protective measures. Employers at 5 or more employees would record or should record all the above arrangements. The management system adopted would need to reflect the complexity of the organization activities and working environment. For large, complicated organizations, more complex systems may be appropriate, such as British Standard 8800, the PDCA cycle, or ISO 45001, right? Anyway, that's just reading. So let's get back to the explanation. So the explanation is, let me just grab the marker here again, is that the arrangement section, they actually said it, consists of the procedures for doing what you want to get done, right? That's why you keep seeing procedures through it, right? The arrangement section would have like a link to the procedures for getting done what you said you wanted to get done. And I'll tell you why just now. Let me just finish this with procedures, right? It's given a lot of trouble. So you could just write it out for me. Procedures. It doesn't look like that. And I'm not going to correct it because you could spell and write for yourself, right? So procedures. So that section of the policy have all the procedures then for getting what they said to get done. So if you want to know what's the connectivity, let me show you the connectivity, right? Let's go back to drills. In the statement of intent, we said we wanted to get like 2 drills done, right? In the organization section, you could write out that if you want, but we had that already, right? In the organization section, we said who was to get the drills done? The HSE person, right? Now, here the thing. The health and safety person, I don't know what the marker, I'm actually scrolling. It's not writing at all, right? Let me try again. Right. So who is to get the drills done is the health and safety person. But the arrangement sections would have the procedure for doing the drill. You understand that? So when the alarm goes off then, let's say you are the health and safety person, you cannot just do your own thing. You cannot just take all the workers and go down the back step, right? They will say, look, Shadrach, you didn't follow the procedure for getting the drill done. The workers supposed to come out to muster point A, they're supposed to pass in the front staircase. You're supposed to wait for the roll to call and then you give the all clear for the workers to go back. You understand that, people? So the arrangement section says how the company is to get it done then, right? Let's get another one, right? The thing with training, or the thing when I said you wanted to go and get your NEBOSH done, right? So how did you get into that school, right? I just saying for company sake then, right? Did you call up 3 schools? Did you get 3 quotations? Did you check things like accreditation? Did you check things like the cost? And the ones that are accredited and cost effective, then that's the one you go with, right? So you just can't do what you want to do then. And again, it doesn't have to be you doing NEBOSH. It could be like a piece of equipment that a company asks you to source. But you call up your friend, you have a friend working in Massey, right? Massey is the most expensive, but you call up your friend in Massey and you buy the piece of equipment, right? So when time for audits, they say, well, where is the 3 quotation? Well, you say, well, the statement of intent said we wanted to purchase a new piece of equipment. I was given that responsibility and I purchased it. So they will say, fine, you purchase it, but how? What procedure did you use to purchase it? You understand that, folks? Right? What procedure? You can't do what you want in the people company. Right? So what procedure did you use to purchase that drill? How is it the most expensive? And you say, no, well, I call up, I had a friend working. No, that's not the company procedure. Right? So do you see the connectivity in it? So let me tell you, one of it says what you want to do. Right? You want to get, 2 drills done. The other piece of it said who is to do it. It have the name, Frank Henry, Shadrach, HSE person. And the last one, the arrangement tells you the procedure for getting it done. Right? You cannot do what you want to do. Companies, in fact, that's a ground to be fired. That's grounds to be fired. The minute you do your own thing and you didn't follow the company procedure, that's grounds to be fired. Right? So do you all see the connectivity in it? So the policy have 3 pieces. The statement of intent is a couple of pages. The organization in reality you're talking about is a couple of pages. I'm trying to find my policy. I have a policy handbook, but it's probably not in front of me here. Right? I see one, but I'm frightened to raise it because it's under our whole set of pile of books, right? But I should probably raise it up. I'm trying to mightn't be should I spill a drink now? It mightn't be the So this is like one I have. This one is not too big. I'm not even sure what this is, right? This is actually, I'll show you for myself. This is actually, yeah, our policy handbook, SSI policy handbook. Notice is a couple of pages well, right? So this having it, the policy for dealing with you, students, right? Let me try to find a good one here for you. I'll try to show you them, right? Procedures for complaint, if students have any complaints, right? So you can't just do what you want, right? So likewise, and I remember Shadrach Safety Institute out here more than a decade now, right? I'm just saying us, but it don't have to be us. If there's an exam policy here, I cannot do what I want for exam. I had to follow NIBOSH exam policy, right? So likewise, you in a company, you want to get something done, fine. You want 30 drills, sorry, not 30, you want, the person who said you want 30 inspections done, you have to use the company form, right? You cannot just go with a copybook page and start to write down what you see. You have to use the company inspection forms, right, Darren? You want to get a JSA done, and you had to use the company JSA form. You have to use the company procedure, right? Look, we have a tutor evaluation form to evaluate the tutors, right? So you will have to evaluate me. But if I tell you to evaluate me, right, and I never have the criteria, right? What would you say? There is some criteria. The tutor was punctual. The tutor has a good command of the subject. The tutor was well prepared in the class. So in getting an evaluation done, there's a procedure. We're not just doing things vike. I mess up the whole part of the table here. Anyway, but I wanted to show you that companies have procedures now, right? And yeah, they get stuff done. We purchase things, we do drills, we do inspections, but we don't do what we want to do. We follow the company procedures, right? So do you all understand it now? If you want to read, they've taken arrangements. Well, again, we already covered what it is. And for that reason, I don't know if you understand this, that anything in a company is a procedure. Like there's a procedure for coming to work on time. Your dress code is a procedure, right? There's a procedure for taking a day off. There's a procedure for if you're sick and you're coming back to work. How do you know then if you want a day off next week? Well, many of us may have taken it this week anyway. How do you know you're supposed to apply for that like 2 days before? And if you come on the day, they will say, no, well, I can't grant this because yes, we know you, we know you're a good worker, but the company procedure is you have to apply 2 days before, right? Of course, you know what we would do, we just take a sick day, but the point is if you wanted the thing, you apply for it, right? All right, I'm reading from your textbook. The arrangement section, and you'll help me finish it, right? The arrangement section is often the largest section of the policy. Why? Because it have all the procedures in it. Help me with this one. Arrangements really mean what? Arrangements really mean? The word is on this slide. Procedures, right? Anyway, this is done. Like I said, folks, I don't really have a question to reflect on here too. Next week is the start of chapter 3. So I don't know if I'm going to give you any assignment this week. I could give you one, but there is none like this. We could go back. I've taken up all the drawings now, right? Because the chart is finished, right? What I could do, there are questions, and you hear me saying, we could go and do, because there is one like this. There's one of the benefits of ISO from last week. That is a question. That is a question, the benefits of ISO certification. But it don't have on how the layout of the book is going. And remember, your NIBOSH exam is only about 8 questions on an entire textbook. So every single thing cannot come, right? If so, you would have had about 100 questions, but every concept cannot come for exam then, right? And so there are questions on this. I can probably give you one like this to do, but, or just a straightforward one. A straightforward one is like, to see what the managers did not do. Like what I was telling you before, like they could ask a question on what the managers, like the paper I give you, like if you looked at that paper, I could give you a question from that same paper, I don't know if I have it open here. I don't think I do, and I've kind of run out of time now. I could give you a question from that same paper. That same paper, right, that I give you, it had a question. I think it was number 4. They asked to find the strengths of what the supervisor did. Right? So they had a supervisor, the role, and to get, I think, the strengths, like what was 5 strengths is like what is 5 good things the supervisor did then. Sure, you remember the case study for those who did it, right? He cordoned off the area, he gave first aid to the worker, right? He did the accident investigation. So they ask about 5 strengths, right? So I feel I'll probably do that, but I may have to make it official. I don't have the paper here, so I have to verify if that is indeed the question number, if it was indeed number 4. And that's a common sense question. That's how easy NEBOSH is. After all of this big thing about policy and rule, they ask you to read a passage and give 5 strengths of a supervisor. Folks, a primary school child writing SCA could do that. A primary school child could read a passage and tell you what is 5 strengths in it. That's how easy NEBOSH is, right? Anyway, folks, the last thing for today is when to review the policy. If you turn the page, you see the policy must be reviewed. They have a whole list of reasons to review. I have a whole list as well, but I'll make it short. How could I make it short? Well, I could just read it. I could just read when to review the policy, right? So when it's time, annually or every 3 years, if you have a technological change, if you have an organization or legal change, results of measure in performance or from an audit tells you to update something, changes in key personnel, young persons may have joined your company. If you got an enforcement action from the HSE, which is the OSHA in the UK, it may mean that you're not doing enough, right? So the long and short, when do you review a policy? The answer is whenever you have a change. The policy is that same thing I just erased from this idea, right? So like if you come up with a new goal, well, you need to review the policy. How could you come up with a new goal? You could. After you have 30 inspections a month, you may have thought of another goal, right? If we had Frank Henry in the organization as a CEO, and Frank Henry leaves the company in June month, well, you need to update the policy because something changed. That's what I mean by changes in key personnel. You understand? It cannot be that the policy keeps on going till November 2024 and Frank leave in June. Frank name still on the thing to sign the check, but Frank leave. But Frank name still there signing check. How Frank signing check in your company if he working for our next company? Think you understand what I mean by change now? A new piece of equipment, right? So you purchase a new piece of equipment, maybe you updated your risk assessment, something changed, so maybe you have to kind of update the policy to reflect that, right? Folks, that's a wrap for today. Now, this video is already on YouTube. I have one of these on YouTube already, but I'll put this one up, right? And I'm going to send you the link for the other one too, to kind of get it there, right? So that's the end of chapter 2. Turn your pages, you'll see that's the end of chapter 2. This week, coming here, I'll have to send you a new PowerPoint. And I would actually also make the lesson kind of formal as to maybe what question I want you to do from the paper. It's the same paper. That's the latest paper you all have. The May paper, right? Is the latest paper that we have, right? Let me just call the roll and that'll be a wrap for today.